All right, there we go. Everything's set up. Okay. So let's real quick. This is the character I'm working on right now. This is Kyron Morvel. And he's pretty intricate. He's got quite a bit of stuff going on. No doubt about it. Let's see if I can show you some of the images that we have to work from. He's pretty wild. He looks like I don't know that much about the character, so he looks kind of like some type of cavalier, if you talk in D&D terms, you know. Um, I'm not exactly sure. He looks like he's fighting evil, which is pretty sweet, and he looks like he's serious about killing. So hence the name Blood Realm. Yeah, so he's pretty wild. I mean, look at this glove, right? I mean, this dude's gonna mess people up. So yeah, he's pretty cool. So I've been working on it for a little bit. I'll show you real quick what I've got going on. Let's see if I can undo that. Yeah. I don't know if it's easier to see it like that. It's harder to see it like that, I think. I think that color is better. Yeah, so very intricate stuff going on. Like you can see, I got the basic shapes, and this is what maybe that's easier to see it like that. Yeah, this is what he looks like as a figure, as a whole. We have the logo is going to be the base right there. And this is gonna end up being like cracked concrete, cracked stone, I think is the idea, right? And we want to, you know, when you're doing figures, you always want something like you need a base for it to be stable, and he's gonna be pretty stable with this base. So it's an opportunity for us to put the logo into the base. I've done that before, and you can't always do it, right? But if you can do it, you should, because people are you know, there's fans of this guy who love, they're reading the books and they love him and everything, and you know, I mean, it's one more level of cool thing you can add onto it for the fan. So so right now I'm working on everything. So last night I worked on the energy wrapped around the sword, right? And this is like it could be a lot of things type of approach. Let me see if I can show you. In this instance, it looks like the fire around the sword has a certain style, a look to it, right? But in this, every pose is going to be different. You know, this fire isn't exactly written in stone. It should look, in my mind, it should add to the 3D model, the three dimensions of the character, right? This is done, and the drawing is done in a two-dimensional way for it to work. Those people go, yeah, that's cool, right? But in 3D, you have different opportunities. So right now, I don't know what people think. I like it. I'm starting to like it. The more I look at it, that the fire is wrapped around the sword, and you know, maybe I'll end up putting, I don't know how to, putting up more fire. Like it's going to be all the tip is going to be very little fire, right? And then off the front end, it's going to come up into more of a blaze around his hands and stuff. And so doing this right now, I was is my way to look at it and go, yeah, that's working, you know, because I originally had done the stored energy more like this, right? Which is cool. I mean, it's not wrong, you know, but it's like it's not integrated with the motion of the guy, right? And I like that kind of stuff. I like that every aspect of the thing is everything's in synchronicity, right? So instead of it being a flat shape like that that comes up, it's going to end up being something that's the fire's flowing with him as he moves around and he attacks. That's kind of the idea. I personally like that stuff, um, and I think it adds a lot. Um, so yeah, we've got a decent amount of interlocking detail in the armor, and I'll continue to work on that stuff as we go. You can sort of see his helmet. It's got some interlocking detail I'm working on, um, and there's a lot of that stuff on this guy. He has got a ton of uber crazy detail, right? Where's that picture of him? And the cool thing about the way they he designed his character is that not everything has crazy detail, right? Which is a good thing. It's in terms of you want regions that are simpler and want regions that are more complicated, more detailed. So to me, that is nice for the person that for the person that looks at it. It looks better, you know, because crazy detail everywhere is busy. It's too much. So um, when I started the stream, I was just working on uh, this shape inside his face. Nothing really dramatic. Um, I wanted okay. I wanted to have I want to fill up the helmet with a solid shape. So when it prints okay, right? So I have this, and obviously in the character, you don't see his eyes or anything. They're kind of a mystery, but I do want something there. So I put something there, you know. Um, and maybe it'll end up being even simpler, you know, it's too much or something. But at this point, I've got a more detailed face. Right. And it's 3D tends to take time. You know, it's a different medium than drawing and penciling, you know, so it's just I'm not saying it's boring to watch, but it's there we go. There we go. Some things just have to be done. You got to spend your time making sure these things work out. Um, like that. Okay. So the sword itself has decent amount of detail. I put little cracks and notches in the sword, if you can sort of see it. Um, just to have something there, you know, a little detail. I made it extra thick. Not extra thick, but thick enough so it won't break unless you put a wrench to it or something, right? Um, that's a little thicker than I think it was meant to be. A sword, you know, swords are not really that thick, I think. But this way it's strong. Um, okay. So one thing I want to do is I want to start working on his shirt. You can see I've got the basic shape happening here, but I need to take that now that it's kind of in position where I know it needs to be. Then um, yeah, then I can take it into Mudbox and start sculpting the fabric and whatnot. Because I kind of know now where the rest of his body is going to be, right? I know where his shoulders are going to be, and so now I can place that stuff in the correct way. But it's tricky. It's a lot of stuff to figure out. Let's see. And I don't want to send all this stuff to Mudbox. I might have to. No, let's just try it. All right. Here goes nothing. Well, the reason I'm saying it that way is because when you send stuff to Mudbox, it's going to take anything connected to it too, right? And I don't really need all these lines. That's just not really, a priority to have, and it's just something you're going to have to deal with in the other program. So it's like I don't really want that stuff there right now. But it tends to send it. So it is what it is. You just deal with it. There he is. Yes, took that one. There you go. That's not too bad. Oh yeah, look at all that stuff on his head. I don't need that stuff there. Dang it. Okay. Let's see. There we go. Let's save him while I have him clean. Okay. Okay, buddy. We're just there. There you go. Okay. So cool thing about Mudbox is you have layers in Mudbox, and I'll show you what that is because it'll change your life. Just like in Photoshop, I can well, like in Mudbox, you can grab things like this, like mud, right? Pretty cool. But in Mudbox, you can add a layer, and you can't see it because my logo's in the way. Boom. But now, anything I do on this layer, I can turn off that whole layer, just like a Photoshop kind of deal, or you can scale it down, right? So it's a cool thing. It's a nice little thing to have just in case, right? So a character that's in motion like this, normally I would work in symmetry. So the left side, I'd be doing the left side and the right side at the same time. But this character is not symmetrical in that way. It's more because of his pose. So yeah, so it's it's one of those things you gotta do. Now you have to do both sides, and it's just nature of the beast. Let's turn this off if I can get rid of this. Yeah, okay. Soften it up. Let's pull this stuff out. Right? Pull them out. All right, around his shoulders. What's going to be going on here? It's really weird. A lot of this stuff, it's wrapping your head around the 3D aspect of it, right? How does a shirt wrap around exactly to his arms and shoulders and armpits, right? You kind of know it when you see it, type of deal, but it is like a weird thing trying to figure out sometimes. It's like, okay, how is a shirt made, right? You got to sort of break it down at least to some degree, just so you know what you're doing. Right. So he's right. He's gonna have this up here, and we're gonna. Tricky thing about this guy is his shoulders, his shoulder pad armor, his shoulder armor. And this is with all, like, if you do like anything medieval like that, it's, I don't think it's a tricky deal because you obviously it doesn't, you don't want it to interlock like that, but it's just a nature of it, right? I mean, it's in real life. What would it look like in real life? It's not usually what people draw in comics. Let somebody say that. Generally, in comics, any kind of flat 2D artwork, it tends to be, what's the right word for it? Very stylized. And once you draw it 2D, it's like that's it. It's not. It's right there. That's what it is, right there. But it isn't. You know, in 3D, it's got to actually be real. So that's one of the tricks behind some of this stuff. Where in 2D, you have the ability to just go, yeah, that's it. That's just those lines right there. Those lines, those 2D lines. That's 3D. That's what it would look like, you know. But okay. So he's going to have a hole here, right? He's going to have a hole where his armor is coming through. And this guy, I can pull this to wrap around it a little bit. No? Something like that. Right? This one is going to be underneath all the armor. You're probably not going to see it. But, you know, it's good to keep yourself honest, right? Unless this took like 1,000 years to work on or something, I tend to just do it, make it look real underneath that stuff, because you never know. You might even tweak the pose at some point, you know, and you end up wanting to have that. So I like to do it. All right, so this guy, it's all pretty much cloth underneath here. Okay. Okay. All tends to be cloth down here, so which is going to be cool. Get the idea. Probably we're going to want to see the muscle below the in his back, right? It's too heavy. Okay. Yeah, you know, something like that, right? And it looks like in the picture he's got some type of a rim to the outer edges of his shirts, so the collar, and then around his. I'm assuming around the insides of his arms. So once I get the basic shape, I'll end up putting a collar in there, but there's no reason for me to do that just yet, right? It'll be something. It'll be something like that, and it'll be stretched with the pose. You know, certain poses have certain ways of stretching this stuff, and you want that to look real. I might even. It's common for me to take photo reference of myself in position so I can see how cloth hangs. That's generally the reason I do it. It's just, you know, 2D artists do the same thing, but, you know, for me, it's just physics, right? You want to see how cloth hangs off of a human being in that exact pose. Right. So I'll end up doing that at some point here. Probably won't see this too much. Okay. Right. Um, so the arm that's raised up, this side over here is going to be very straight and stretched, as most artists know. This will be kind of like, real quick, I'll do it. It'll be coming from this point, right? Something, you get it, something like that, where everything's stretched from that point. That would be more logical. And I have to shoot reference for it, but it'll definitely. And then this side will end up being more, more curled, more folds, right? And a lot of times I end up doing, sometimes if you don't really know how to do it, well, if I don't know how to do it, I'll end up moving ahead and trying something. And if it doesn't work, then I know that is not the way. That's kind of how I prevent like creative block. I end up just doing it. Just do it. Just try it. And if you try it and it doesn't work, then at least you know that as you're figuring it out, you know that is not an option anymore. So that's kind of one of my ways I kind of get around that stuff. Right. This would probably hang some. I'm guessing this would probably hang. Not too much, but in that direction. You know what I'm saying? Right. He looks chunky now. Right? Too fat. Something like that. I think. Let's delete that. I don't even need to know why that's there. So this is like a placer, a belt. I put like a little square there just so I know where the center is, right? So that helps me figure out, always stay on track as to where the center of the model is. See. It's kind of funny when you do 3D. You work on something, say at this angle, and you'll go, yeah, that's really working good. That's really, everything looks like it should. And then when you rotate it, you're like, what the heck? Everything's screwed up. Drives me up. It's something you got to get used to in 3D. 2D is different, but it also has problems like that where you just 2D and you have to sort of always step back and see. And sometimes like we'll put artwork in the mirror just to see if it has flaws that we didn't, because you can't see the forest for the trees. You're staring at that thing. It becomes abstract almost in a way for the artist while they're doing it, which is tricky. It's a tricky thing to get around. There we go. So already you can sort of see that's looking pretty good. I'm guessing that I'm guessing in the final version, I'll have the split down the middle of some sort, and then I'll have like fabric folds, I should say, crisscrossing that, right? Something like this, where it's stretching from one shoulder to the other, kind of a thing. I'm guessing it's going to be something like that. And when you're using 3D modeling, when you go with the grain, when you go with the way these are laid out, it's smoother. And when you go against the grain, it tends to have things look like that, all chunky, right? So yeah, there's a way around that to solve that problem, but it's not a problem I'm going to solve now. Now is about getting the overall shapes correct. Sometimes when I'm doing the model and I get just the pose made out of a character in boxes, like I'm like, and this was the case with this one too. We came up with a pretty good pose. Um, we came up with, um, okay, there it is. Right. And that pose right there, just alone, because I'm used to doing this stuff, you like, for the normal person, like, okay, that looks like boxes. I get it. That's the helmet. I get what's happening here. But for me, that I can see 90% of it already. I can visualize it and lay it out in my head. That is what it looks like. And for me, the details aren't as important, but clearly, I mean, they're important, but you get my point. I can visualize far ahead. So I'm usually pretty excited when I get the pose and it works well. So, um, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't do this without taking a reference. I don't know. It looks better like that. Even if it isn't, maybe the front's more foldy, or maybe just like that. I mean, that's as a basic shape. I think that kind of works, right? Yeah. There used to be a thing back in the day. You could, if you read Marvel, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, they had a thing where they would teach you to draw through objects so that you could learn about how it's really operating. And when I started 3D modeling, and I had always done that when I drew, like lightly draw the leg behind kind of a thing. I bet you most people do that to a degree. It really paid off when I started doing 3D modeling. I knew it right away. I was not confused about what's actually happening. Um, and I remember growing up, there was a friend of mine who's like, "You're just wasting your time drawing that leg in the back there, right?" And I'm thinking, well, I think John Buscema probably knows better than you. So I kind of took John's advice and it paid off. This guy was the kind of guy that would cut corners on everything. So I don't really believe in cutting corners. I believe in sometimes I do it more than I have to get it the way I want. Yeah, that's kind of working already. I think that's pretty good. I mean, in a way, like I generally is the way I think the fabric is going to go. When you so eventually what I'm going to end up doing is right, I'm going to make a new version of this, each piece, say the shirt for example. I'm going to do something like this. Mudbox has a really cool tool where not only can you instead of these start to get stretched out, and you don't want that. You want these vertices right here. These, see the squares, and over here the squares are more dense. You want them to be even throughout the whole piece, and that's challenging, because of the nature of 3D sculpting. But they have a cool tool where you can do this and you can lay out the direction these vertices are going to go. And then, because you want to get rid of even stuff like this where it's all twisted up. And it's going to get twisted when you do modeling. So you can go through this process. I'll show you real quick. Where you basically, so I know I'm going to have cloth draped across your shoulders. So I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to say direct it this way too. Right? And I want down here. do this. And you can do this like hundreds of these, to be honest. But anyway, so it lets you direct the way this stuff is laid out. Let me do this real quick. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay. So let's just pretend that that was the way I wanted it, and this is going to be. So I'm ready to do it. So it has a retopologize operation you can use, and you can tell how many vertices or how many the poly count of the model itself. So now it's going through a process of saying I'm going to follow those lines that Matt made, but I'm going to redo this model in the way he wants it. And it doesn't take long. It's 64% done already. And what it'll do is it'll make a low res one and a really high res one and a couple stages in between. And this will give you options as to which one you want to keep. That way, because right now I don't need detail, but I will eventually. So it's nice to have it. So you can see now it's just mega subdivided. Oh, you can't see it because it's all blown out, right? But if you go over here into the object menu, right? So you got something like this. There we go. So something more evenly spaced. Things aren't distorted, right? And it saves your old one. It doesn't delete it. And there we go. So now when I want to go back, eventually when I want to go back and do folds across the shoulders and whatnot, it'll be smooth. If you get my drift. And there's probably going to be a bunch around this shoulder that I have not even figured out yet. When I do when I shoot reference, I'll actually know that stuff better. So let's see. It's pretty stuff is pretty technical, but it's not like you only learn the things you have to learn. I'm not really a technical person at all. I just learn these things because I need to know them. That's it. This pose, there's going to be a logo right here in the center of the chest, but it's going to be so covered up. There's so many other cool things about it that having that is not the biggest deal. So anyway, so let's save this. I want to bring it back into 3ds Max. There we go. So you can sort of see that's what it was, and then now it's more detailed, right? So it's already starting to look like a figure under cloth, which is good. I don't know why this is the way it is. Let's do this. I like to not finish any one region. I'll work around, and I'll end up doing a part of this and a part of that. So the whole model comes up slowly together, right? Like I'm gonna start doing the lower body pretty soon to get that stuff worked on, figured out. So you can sort of see his pelvis underneath his tunic. It's I'm just wondering if I should keep it separate from the legs or I should connect the legs. I think I'm going to keep it separate for right now because I might want to move around, slowly move around these legs. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I don't know. I mean, I could do it. The thing is, not that people should care about this because it's not their world. But you see this little gizmo here that I can grab it and move it. It's oriented exactly with the length of the geometry right now, the box. And if once I connect it to other shapes, that goes away. You lose it. And I like having you know exactly that if I was going to move this down or move this up, it's going to do it in the exact way. So that's my concern about getting rid of it. So he's got armor on his legs, and there's his helmet, which is totally freaking cool. Okay. What for his legs? I need his legs. Something like this. This other artist who did stuff, he did a killer job. It looks great. But they're different. One style looks one way, and the other style looks the other. You know, I'm gonna go with the original. I'm deriving everything off of this because that's the original intent, and I think it's the gnarliest. Taps into something savage. I like that. But when I don't have this guy, this artist has really done a good job of working out how the legs work. So, yeah, I'm gonna start working on that, making that stuff. So his legs, he's gonna have a thing. I'm not sure. So he has a kneecap, which I already have built that. So I can usually build one and then flip it. That's what I'll probably end up doing. It's hard for you guys to see it. Looking at the reference here. Oh. I like to usually, it really is helpful to stick to basic primitive shapes early on. This way, it's easy to move things around, if you know what I mean. It saves you a lot of trouble. Moving around these two vertices is way different than moving around like a shitload of them, right? So I like to get the basic shape. All right, so looking at this thing, it looks like those are actually concave. So I can't do it this way. I want to delete these. Sometimes you end up doing a little surgery on these things with geometry. Surgery meaning you're going in and you're like repairing stuff like this. It's just the thing is, you can do it, and it's so easy to do it at a base level like this, basic shapes. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. And then this. See, it's like a shape like this where it points down, and then the top it has a flat top, right? So getting that basic shape correct before you do anything else is super important. And it's definitely pays off. It's like you know it when you see the final shape, you're like, that is done correctly. It matches. There we go. Knowing how to put that line right in the middle, that helps too. And it looks like that center is a point, and everything else goes backwards. So let's do this. And that thing in the bottom is pointed down. All right. Like that. And like this. I like to do it so that, okay, buddy. Yeah, right? That's kind of what it is. And then I don't think it's this thick. So before I do anything else, I'm gonna grab these. So easy when it's low res. Make it like that. And then I'm going to loop. Boop. Oh. So I'm gonna pull it out. Actually, I'm gonna do that with another. So I don't want to screw this up. So I add another edit poly here, and that way I can delete it if it doesn't work. So something like this, I like to do that. Do that, row, do that a little more. It's probably more than that. It's probably something like that, I think. What's up, Scooter? What's going on, man? Thanks for stopping in. Get your daily dose of 3D. 3D that has gotten a bad rap for some reason. I have no idea why. Right, tricky. He's got to go down like that. I'll tell you, man, doing some of these, trying to get like a shape a certain way, it seems like it's simple, but it can go south quick. Son of a gun, stop it. Okay. Scooter, I think, is somewhere on the other side of the planet. Scooter, you're in New Zealand, I think, or something like that. I think that's what you told me. That's crazy. Dude's out in New Zealand watching the stream. That's cool. I imagine it's late night or something. All right. All right. So you get the idea. So now the thing is curved a little bit. I don't know, man. That looks weird. This is like this is important stuff, getting this right. Yeah, 3 a.m. Australia, you're right. 3 a.m. That's, dude, you're up, man. You're really up. Do you normally stay up this late? Or maybe you're, oh, yeah. Oh, you just finished. Oh, I got you. You worked a night shift. Okay. Yeah, right now I'm in, it's 11:15. And I'm in Arkansas. And it's just starting the day for most people. And the weather here is gorgeous. Absolute blue skies. It's 45 degrees, but it was 75 last week. Right, there we go. So that's kind of, it's a little tall. Offhand, this shape is a little tall. So let's bump it up. Something like that. Right? It's disorientating for people to watch me rotate this thing around, but I have to do it because I have to figure it out. wonder if the middle is a little more popped out, what that would be. I like that. Yeah, I like that. Something like that. And then we're gonna have probably, I don't know if we're gonna, no, I think this is gonna be ornate. It's gonna be like right now I'm making, this is the kneecap. This is this thing right here on this armor, like a plate mail. Um, but it's actually gonna look closer to this kind of stuff. It's not gonna have those lines going down. That's a stylistic thing. So it's gonna be more ornate. I'll show you the whole thing. Here we go. Yeah, when you in 3D, you could like spend like you could spend, an hour working on the kneecap just to get the basic shape right, you know. Um and that's what I'm doing right now, is trying to get those shapes correct. It should be, I'm guessing logically, it should be indicative of what Robert designed for the way the legs are built. These sort of plate mail shingles hang these they wrap around the arm. Yeah, thanks, man. He's got a cool design for sure, and I'm just trying to execute it as close as I can get it. I This glove is going to be really fun to do, and it's going to be gnarly. I can't wait to put those spikes off the forearms. That's going to be cool. But that is not now. Now is basic shapes, and it has to be done. Um, so, it makes me wonder. Um, wonder. I've got another figure I did that is kind of similar to this. Um, let me just look at them, because I might use pieces of it. No, I guess not. I mean, these things they don't really help. This was an old Green Lantern I did. Um, it was a miniature. It's like 1 inch tall, right? There we go. This is one of the early models I made when I first started doing 3D modeling. So I thought, maybe there's some things about this guy that like I could use, like his head or his shins, but then I don't think they match. They're not close enough. So, oh well. You would think actually that I would have a giant like library of body parts, right? But I don't. I really don't. Even though I've made them, I can go to other models and find like a foot or a hand, but they tend to be pretty specific on each model. So I would like to do that. It would save me time, but you know, it doesn't always come up. All right. So this thing, it looks like there is another one that wraps around. So I'm going to just copy this guy. And then let's do something like, let's pull this down. Well, no, maybe not. See, just wrapping your head around how things look in real 3D is that's a time-consuming thing, right? I mean, it's 2D is the same way, but um, it's just a little bit different in 3D. Sometimes people have Robert's style is very evocative, right? It's got things in it that are meant to be interpreted so that it triggers the imagination, right? Frank Frazetta's like this. You see a lot of pen and ink guys are like this. And so some of it, a lot of artists, they really work it out, right? Cyberfrog is worked out, for example. That's a good one because he's made of armor, right? So you know kind of exactly what it looks like. But if you're doing like a Frank Frazetta kind of thing, which is kind of what this is, I have to figure out what the squiggle means, right? So it becomes a challenge because you want to, because when you do that stuff, you want to, I want to always stay in the realm of what they created. There's no reason for me to make stuff up. To me, that's stupid. They've already tapped into the cool thing about the model to begin with. So I want to make sure I honor that and get that. And it's also dumb if I didn't do that because why make all that extra work for something they've already figured out, right? So yeah, eventually this is going to have. I think we're going to do ornate lines like French armor. They have like where everything's there's there's stuff wrapped around it, every corner of it. You know, very ornate. That's what it's going to end up being. Um, right now, these got to go on the inside like that. Okay. On these models, see the thickness is playing. It's messing me up now. On the models, you can you have the main model. You can grab it and move it, right? But if you want to uh, start moving around these smaller parts, you can go into it, and these little menus here will let you do that kind of stuff. So I previously had that the last faces I grabbed onto were these it saved my selection, which is nice. So all I have to do is grab it. But this is kind of how you kind of perform surgery on a 3D model. You go into it, and it's you can see it's very. Eventually, I'm going to subdivide it more and make it so that it's you don't see the corners here. It'll be smooth, but I'm not going to bother doing that. As a matter of fact, it would mess me up if I tried to do it right now. It wouldn't make any sense. Here we go. Much better. So that thickness is probably going to be better. When I do 3D modeling, you end up, I'll have a shape on the back of this thing, kind of like a peg. like that, right? When the model's done and this thing's all finished, you won't see it, but I'll have something like that in the back there so that it connects physically, so that when you print it, it's solid, right? It's not just being connected by the mere touch of the different shapes. I'm going to make sure that it's completely connected. That way, it's strong. Um, right? See that? Crazy stuff, man. It gets crazy fast when you do 3D. You got to stay on top of what you're doing, and you only learn by making a mistake constantly. Sometimes 3D stuff, you'll do it, and it'll be like you don't know how. You kind of worked yourself into a corner, right? Where things aren't operating the way you thought they were, and it's messed up or something, and it's a bitch. All right, let me see. So this one here and this one here, I'm gonna ring, and then I'm gonna use this connect modifier. They built some pretty cool tools in here. Um, and they're great to have when you're modeling. Over the years, the people who made the software have listened to the people that use it, so they have some great tools. There you go. It's looking pretty good. This has to go under, by the way, underneath it like this, and the knee pad is going to go on top, probably rotated because he's bent, right? Something like that. I'll tell you the other thing. Anybody that uses Photoshop, you or use like any other software, dude, save early, save often. That's always been my motto. And I also do a thing. Well, I'm sure other people do it, where I will back up stuff. Like I'm going to end up backing up this file at this stage already because I've done so much work on it. Because you never know. You never know. I've actually totaled my computer. I did it totaled it once. I was trying to fix a problem that I wasn't sure was even there with my memory, and I ended up completely frying part of the PC, and I lost everything on it. I lost like 2 weeks of work. So you know, I knew just enough to do damage. So now I know not to do what I did. Right. I can do certain things with PCs. I'm not totally inept, but I'm very cautious to do anything. The one thing I do is I keep it clean. And the computer that you're watching, the screen you're watching right now, is not on the internet. This PC is not on the internet on purpose because I don't know what the deal is with the internet, but it puts stuff on your computer, on your PC. And um, forget that noise. Okay. Where's that other pick? Oh, here it is. All right. So I could work on the belt a little bit. I could also work on his tunic. Right now, I've got his tunic split like this. Um, it works. I mean, it's. I might end up connecting them above the hip, right? I'm thinking more and more based on this photo that Robert did. Um, that that split isn't that as pronounced as I have it. So maybe it's a tiny split, or the split is. I'll show you. Let's do this. Let's attach these. Bang, bow. And there we go. So let's do this. This is tricky sometimes, connecting geometries. Let me tell you. Most people never see this side of stuff, right? You never really, you watch a movie and you see how you see a thing, how the CG is worked in some kind of scene in a movie, but you don't really want to know how it's done. And this is how it's done. Everything starts out with this kind of stuff. And it's you quickly realize you don't want to know. Unless like you enjoy learning things like this. The second there's a lot. And so I'm going to use this bridge modifier. Bridge, boop, that way. Maybe I can do more. I'll do one more. Every time it resets the menu. I have to go looking for it. It's freaking stupid. Okay. Yeah, something like that would work better, I think. Yeah, it's hard for you guys to see, I'm sure. So I'll scroll back down here and get this. It's so kooky, the way they got it set up. So I'm going to add, right now, this is pretty stretched out, and there's no reason for that to be. So I'm going to add one in the middle on both sides. Like that. So now, pull this out like this, like it's stretched around the leg. People like to think that like 3D is like AI or something. Let me tell you something. This stuff is all made by hand. It's all done, every tiny step. It's just a different tool. It's just a different kind of pencil. Is really what it is. And people like to bash on it or whatever you want to describe that attitude as. Like, it's stupid. It's dumb. I mean, if you don't like the look of a certain style of artwork, then that's everybody has an opinion about something. But trying to like blacklist it or something, I don't know what is going on. To me, it's stupid. Right? If you don't like the artwork produced by somebody who buys, like, let's say somebody buys like a truck in 3D and they use it for a thing, I get that because it looks fake. It doesn't look real. It doesn't look like you put time into it, right? But that's the issue, right? Not the issue that it comes from a 3D model, is the fact that it doesn't look right. That's the issue for me. There we go. So there we got the tunic stretching across his legs. That's going to be cool because I like to do things that look like they interact with other things, and I'm sure most 3D people do. So when this is, I'm going to make sure to have some of it stretched over the leg like that, and it's going to add a nice dynamic. One of the things I debated on doing, which I don't even know if I'm going to do it because there's not enough things, but is to have that tunic flapping in the wind. Where it's something like that, where it's stretched, And the only reason I'm thinking of not doing that is because it would be the only thing in the model that's like that. And you wouldn't actually get it. You know what I mean? You wouldn't, like, if there were like 3 things and I would go, it's going to sell. It's going to be a nice selling point for, so in this case, what I think I'll end up doing is, if it's possible, I don't even know if it's possible to find something that is with his motion, right? If he's something that would you would look at that tunic and you would go, it's like that because of the way he's twisted. It's actually flipping in motion, right? Something like that where it flips in motion. But and I like to do that with everything, but in this case, I'm not really sure because I like the fact that it points down to the logo, right? I mean, that concept alone sells itself, I think, and it anchors him like nobody's business. And I think that's part of the pose that he's anchored. He's totally solid. Excuse me. You know what I'm saying? So excuse me, it's stuff like that where I try to like include as many things like that as I can. The other thing I like to do myself personally is to push everything as far as I can push it. Um, and and that is basically analyzing everything as you go along and saying, can I take it farther, right? The other thing too, on a totally separate subject is um, this helmet. I like the way I like when you look at a 3D model that somehow the figure is looking directly forward in some kind of way, right? I don't generally like figures, and I've done them, and that's why I know I don't like it as much, that they're not looking forward. Like they're looking down on the ground, or they're looking up into the sky, or they make sense and they look cool. You can make them look realistic, but there's something that's non-engaging with something like that. And I think that when people buy something, like the fans are gonna want to buy this. I think that you want to engage people, and I think the figure looking at you, it makes them easier to relate to, right? Um, yeah. So the other thing that we came up with that I think is going to work really well is the feet just hanging over the edge of the border of the logo. That is just breaking that boundary a little bit, right? Just add a little bit more dimension to it. I think that's going to be cool, right? And one of the last things I'm going to work on is going to be the ground, the base, right? I'm going to end up doing cracked concrete, and it's going to sort of all point to the wolf head logo. And I think that's going to be sweet. I don't know exactly what else I can include in that base yet. I haven't given it much thought because cracked concrete is going to be cool for sure. But maybe there's something else we can put in there. Like I generally, for these kind of models, I don't do micro detail like skin or granular parts of the rock. I don't do that stuff because to do it, you've got to subdivide the models to a crazy degree. So I tend to I'll add larger details, shapes of the rocks and maybe something closer to that. But so yeah, so there might be something about the 3D surface of the base that we can add to it that is one more level of coolness. I don't know what that's going to be, but it would be nice. It'd be nice to have something like that. And I don't know how thick that. I mean, the base will probably be that thick. That's a pretty decent thickness. I've done it before, and they worked out pretty good. This guy is going to be pretty stable. You're going to put him on your desk, and he's going to be freaking solid, man. Yeah, so see if people can see it. I don't know. If there's anybody watching on Twitter or on YouTube, let me know what you think about the fire around the sword. I think it's going to be pretty cool. And I would like to get random other opinions about it, because that's going to end up looking like um, not just like electrical energy, not just energy, but I'm going to have like thicker areas and fires going to curl off certain parts of that stuff. So yeah, what do people think? Is it a good approach? And I'm going to end up now that I know I kind of like that way that works. I'm like, yeah, that's curling around the sword is a way to do it. I'm going to end up having. I'm going to see if having more fire back here in the back area, curling around his body maybe a little bit. Not, I'm not talking like a fireball or anything, but I'm just talking like integration, more integration of the fire around the shape. That might be really cool, right? That might be something like, because the idea is to make something where people go, fuck yeah, that is awesome. That is, you took it to the limit on how that could work. And that's my goal, is to take it as far as I can take it. I guess one way to do that would be do something like this, where it's a little bit thicker. Is that too much? And so also one of the things I like to do is because stability in resin printing is important. I don't want this shape hanging out on its own, right? So I'll end up connecting it to the model in various ways, or connecting it to the other fire. So there will be like a curl off of it that connects to this one, or lands down on his hands or something. That is, I want to design stability into the 3D model, if you know what I mean. So, which is something I always do, but it's important to do. So having a connect right here onto the handle in his hands, that's an important thing. Um, having it touch the sword in multiple areas is super important. So I don't know what it'll end up looking more fluid, like fluid fire, I think. But right now it's important just to get the shape down. So and I wonder what his feet look like. That's I'm going to have to look that up. I could just make it up because it seems pretty self-explanatory. These guys have boots on. They're useless. They have freaking boots. I need somebody with a boot with a plate over it, right? Something I can. I'm gonna have to look online. Once you see it, you know exactly what it is. Plate mail feet, right? Something like plate mail feet. Let's see if I can look at something because I want to get that basic shape before I do anything more. Let's see. Plate mail feet. Yeah, see, I can see them right here on my PC. So done. That's what I need. Okay. Yeah, this will be much better. I mean, you can dink around with how this stuff is structured, but it's better just to go right to the source. And there's also like rivets and stuff on this armor. So maybe I could add rivets on this guy just a little bit. I don't know. Okay. There we go. Put those over there. This is how I get stuff on my computer. Oh, is that all screwed up? That's a little bit better. Okay. Something like this, right? That's more like the basic shape, how this thing is done. So that's how I want to do this. Okay. So yeah, I mean, at this point, if you're watching this stream, you're probably going, "Oh, this is more time intensive than I ever thought," and it definitely is. It is time intensive. Okay, so this thing peaks in the middle. If you can sort of see where my cursor is, right? So I want to, even though it's kind of whole thing is kind of circular in some kind of way, it's got that peak. So what I will do is, I think I'll try a bend. Bends is a cool modifier. You can put it on something, basically bended it like that. It's great when you do modeling. I use it all the time. You can do it with motion graphics, so you can do like you can bend stuff in over time, right? So you could I won't do it; it'll be a pain. But you can just set a keyframe, and it'll start flat and it'll bend how you want it. And it's a cool thing. The motion graphics part of this is a totally different ballgame. The rendering is totally different ballgame. Let's see. Well, anyway, that's over. That's wow. It's already an hour and 20 minutes. So I'm gonna sign out for now because I'm just gonna keep working and doing this kind of stuff. But I'll be on maybe later or tomorrow. You can sort of check progress into the 3D model. Um, this is, you can see, this is Kyron, and he's looking pretty cool. He's looking like he's ready to tear ass. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for even just stepping in and looking at the character. If you're a fan of this of Alterna and Blood Realm, this is a really exciting comic book, and it's an honor to work on it. He's really freaking cool. So I'm going to sign out. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you in the next podcast.